I'm Richard Sher. Time to square off. Let's meet this week's panel. Two conservative talk show hosts, the amazing Andrew Langer from WCBM Radio and super talker Jimmy Mathis. And we welcome police reform consultant. Welcome back to Ganesha Martin and, of course, the fabulous attorney Tonya, Banya. Well, the Democratic Party is all set for its convention in Chicago as the Harris-Walz team continues to gain momentum and the Trump-Vance team increases its attacks on Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. What's your take on the campaign so far, Jimmy?
Well, I'm not sure why they're having a convention. They're not voting on anything. She's already been anointed as the nominee, even though nobody has had the ability to cast a vote for her. You talk about gaining momentum with all the negative press against Donald Trump. I'm looking at real clear politics. He's down by 1%, which is well within the margin of error. The fact that he's getting the support that he is needs to be recognized. This convention is a joke, and we'll see what happens the first Tuesday of November.
Ganesha, what a look. What do you have to say?
Well, I'm going to the joke, leaving on the 18th. I'm excited about it, and so are a lot of other people. She's out here setting records. I was just at the event yesterday in Prince George's where there were thousands of people that were wrapped around the building to get in there to see her, to talk about the record, the legislation, not the legislation, but the work that they're doing right now to cap prescription drugs, which are real issues that real people care about, that they're talking about, and that Trump is not. And so I'm excited, the money raised, the people that are showing up. So, let's go.
A.L. Langer, sir.
Except Trump is talking about those issues and has been talking about them in real ways and is working on them. A negotiation that's not a negotiation at all is just a fiction. And the fact is that when you're robbing Peter to pay Paul in order to get this prescription drug,
well, he knows a lot about robbing people. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's fine. No, it's okay.
My bad. I'm sorry.
The point is, the Inflation Reduction Act took $250 billion out of Medicaid to pay for the Green New Deal. And then as a result, we have this prescription drug issue, which is not a negotiation. It's not a negotiation when you go to a pharmaceutical company and you say, offer your drugs at this price or we're going to tax you at 95%. That's not a negotiation. That's essentially threatening the very basis of the business. And what that leads to down the road, which nobody's talking about, is the fact that it's going to discourage pharmaceutical companies from innovating. They're not going to want to offer drugs that are going to want to become popular because they're going to run the risk of having their business models get threatened. And so, to me, when I look at yesterday's event, and I spent a lot of time talking about Wes Moore today, nobody else for whatever reason was capturing his video. Yeah, they went to the first event that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden did together was in the deepest blue state, in one of the deepest blue counties in Maryland. To me, I mean, there's a lot of spangly stuff going on, but not a lot of substance.
Tonya, you realize that Kamala Harris is making history. She's the first Black woman, the first Asian American to be at any major party's ticket. What are your thoughts?
I'm listening to Andrew talk, and it's like wah 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 wah. I mean, the DNC is the hottest ticket in town right now, and the fact that you don't realize that is the reason why Donald Trump is going to continue to decline in the polls. I mean, he is nothing, and he's not talking about the issues. I mean, you should be speaking for him because you're at least talking about like real distinctions between the parties and the candidates. Donald Trump is too busy talking about Kamala Harris's race, about her husband not being a sufficiently Jewish Jew. I mean, I love it right now. It's great. And I wish I was going to the DNC.
Donald Trump did an hour-long press conference yesterday talking about prices and getting into detail about these issues. The idea that Donald Trump's not talking about issues of substance is a fiction that's being perpetrated by the Democratic Party, hell-bent on focusing on insulting Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, raising weird rumors that J.D. Vance had unnatural relations with a couch. I mean, that's all that the Democrats have. It's all about Donald Trump being a racist, Donald Trump being this, Donald Trump being that. This is
And
why,
yet
by the way,
you're
hold
the
on
one
real
who
quick.
brought it up just now, and no one here has called Donald a racist. We called him crazy. He's talking about other people's race, but nobody's talking about him being a racist. And you brought up the couch.
No, it's the only look. The Democrats right now have one thing. It's identity politics. And Richard, it's the way the topic, right? She's the first Black woman, Asian, whatever. It's like a hamster on a wheel. It's all the party has right now. You want to get down to substance. You look at what Donald Trump did. You want to talk about the Jewish community? Let's really peel the onion back on that one. You look at what Donald Trump did as president when it comes to foreign policy, okay? Blows every president out of the water over the last 30 years. And I'll tell you what, it took an awful lot for the Democrats to annihilate, okay, the Jewish community, and somehow Biden, Obama, and now Harris, with disrespect and Bibi coming to speak into a joint session of Congress, managed to totally accomplish that. There is no substance to Harris at all. None. Zero. None.
Ganesha, do you take that?
To Donald Trump. Are you serious?
I don't know. I
Republican
haven't gone
is to
through.
cut taxes for
Oh,
billionaires.
sorry. Go ahead.
Go with Ganesha. Hold on, Tom. Go ahead.
Yeah, I answered your question before you asked it. I don't know. I don't. When we're talking about identity politics and this being a hamster wheel because we're talking about race, that's because the Republican Party has ignored I wish we didn't have to talk about race. I wish it wasn't an issue, but when you have people talk about black jobs and putting tennis shoes out, all these sorts of things where he's pandering to the lowest common denominator amongst Black people, like, sorry that it's important. It's actually quite ridiculous that we're having to say, we're so happy that there's a first and we're so proud that there's a first. We'd actually would be very happy to not be saying these things and just be judged off of our actual record, which you all want to continue to not pay attention to why she is qualified, right? And just talk about how nasty of the sexual things that she's doing on, Air Force One. Like, these are the things that y'all are talking about. Like, let's be serious.
Folks.
This is the thing that their candidate is talking about. This is what their candidate is talking about.
Correct.
All right, we're going to hear from Jimmy, then from Andrew. Don't interrupt, please. Jimmy Mathis.
There's no substance behind this campaign, which is why, okay, she wasn't even nominated at the convention. There has been no vote casted for Harris at all when it comes to the presidency. And she is trying to totally segregate herself from the Biden administration, which is why she will not have any legitimate interview with a legitimate reporter other than Lester Holt from NBC News, which is why this convention is a total joke kicking off Monday. Go ahead, put your actual platform, your agenda, your mandate, put it on the table. She won't do it because there is none. And once you get past identity politics, there is nothing here at all.
We're 3 weeks.
I don't hear anyone saying that. I don't hear any spokesperson for her talking about identity politics. I only hear that coming from the other side.
Well, okay. First of all, listen, I want to focus on the substance here and the lack thereof in terms of Kamala Harris and her campaign. We are now almost 4 weeks into her campaign, and she hasn't released a single policy position. Or the one thing that she did do yesterday was start talking about price controls. And the reaction from the Washington Post was, you know something, and this is the Washington Post editorial staff saying, if your opponents are accusing you of being a communist, maybe starting off with your first policy position being price controls, maybe shouldn't be the way you ought to go in all of this. On the other hand, we do have Donald Trump, as I said, spent an hour yesterday doing an unscripted press conference talking about the issues, talking about prices, talking about energy, talking about the things that matter, the kitchen table issues that matter to average everyday Americans. We can't have, hold on for a second. Let me finish what I'm saying here, please. You can't say that Kamala Harris is running on the issues when she hasn't talked about the issues or issued a policy position paper at all. At the same time, she is reputed, right? Amy Klobuchar goes on TV and says, well, she doesn't have to issue a policy position. She doesn't have to state her position on the issues because we know what she said in the past. Unfortunately, on every major issue that she's had a policy position on, she's repudiated it. So without that, we can talk about the issues. Republicans can talk about the issues because we're on the record. Kamala Harris isn't on the record on any of this.
While in Raleigh, North Carolina on Friday, Harris outlined her economic plan, including reining in high grocery prices by taking on food and grocery corporations who hike the cost of goods for customers to unfair levels. And Donald Trump had his press conference Thursday, and he was urged by his aides to, quote, give an intellectual speech on the economy. But instead, he went on his own way, insulting Kamala Harris, saying, quote, I'm very angry at her because of what she has done to this country. I don't have a lot of respect for her intelligence, and I think she'll be a terrible president.
Do you know who else that, Richard? Is Joe Biden. Joe Biden has come out, okay, to his closest inner circle, said basically there was a cue. He is upset with Nancy Pelosi. He's upset with Steny Hoyer. He's upset with Barack Obama. Okay, this hit him blindsided. It's absolutely okay. I don't know we're even talking about this right now. Again, there has not been a single vote cast in person.
Done. Tell you what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I want to talk about the vice presidents for just a short period, and then the Senate race with Hogan and also Brooks. All right, here's the voice of Square Off, Howard Mallison. Please be
Richard. Thank you, Richard. Richard and I are proud to represent the law firm of Barry Glazer. Barry always goes that extra mile for his clients, whether it's been a personal injury, medical malpractice, or nursing home neglect. Barry and his staff, that includes an in-house doctor and a nurse too, make no apologies for getting top dollar from the insurance companies. His clients are his best advertising. Next time you need a lawyer, give Barry Glazer a call at 410-547-8568. Barry gets results. Tell him Richard Sher sent you.
Do that.
And for special occasions, group get-togethers or just date night, Pappas Restaurant and Sports Bars belong on the top of your list. Enjoy their award-winning crab cake, or as Richard calls it, the Fab Cake, and a great selection of steaks, seafood, and other mouth-watering treats. Pappas is Oprah's favorite, and they ship their crab cakes all over the country. 4 locations, including their newest sports bar and restaurant in Bel Air. Pappas food, service, and atmosphere is second to none. Back to you, Richard.
All A+. Thank you, Howard. Now, before we move on to the Senate race here in Maryland, J.D. Vance, Tim Walz. Tonya Banya, what do you think of these vice presidents?
I think that Walz was a smart pick. He's a good counterbalance to Kamala Harris, likable. He has this, I think, unique capacity to be challenging and to defend her in a bullish way that is not angry. Like, I was a fan of Shapiro. I really like Shapiro, and was hoping he would be the pick, but he does read a bit more angry. And I think that Walz is a big reason for the really positive energy that the campaign continues to have. And I think that's why you're seeing the polls increasingly showing there being positive momentum for the Harris ticket, and former President Trump losing support.
Yeah, because there's no substance behind Harris. And when you're relying on your VP to pick up the slack because the person on the top of the ticket, there's nothing there, that's a real problem, by the way. And Tonya, I love you, but you just nailed how weak she is as a candidate. So,
well, the fact that you and Andrew are talking about race baiting and so forth, which isn't happening, and Joe Biden, who's not the candidate, I think speaks to the weakness of the other side.
She's part of the administration. You cannot segregate, okay, the fact that she has not been part of this administration for the last 3 years, that she has been a part of the failure that is the Biden-Harris administration. You can't segregate that. As much as they want to, been a failure. Immigration, a failure. Inflation, a failure. Unemployment, a failure. Everything across the board, a failure. You can't just forget that.
So let's go to a dictatorship. Yes.
That's a Republican.
Yeah.
Going to win another one.
Or we'll have to mute you. Just kidding. We can't afford to mute her. On the vice presidents.
Yeah. So the truth of the matter is I hadn't really followed him very much. And now, you know, that he's been injected into the conversation, and I know that probably to our counterparts on this call, like Joy and actually speaking positively and trying to help the folks in this country that are struggling with 2 and 3 jobs and can't buy, you know, all these different, you know, things. Like him coming into the race has infused that. So I appreciate that just on a personal level. Also, having worked across this country from the South to the North, the Midwest, you know, the things he's been able to do, you know, there, I think are things that are speaking to the American, you know, to the American population. There was something I was you have to go to somebody else. There was something I was going to respond to on Mathis, but
Go to Andrew.
Tim Walz is the cautionary tale of what happens when you have to choose a vice presidential candidate in the space of 3 weeks and he's not properly vetted. Tim Walz is in many ways similar to Kamala Harris in that he's an empty suit, but he also represents the worst impulses of socialism within the Democratic Party. That's why, you know, when he talks speaking admiringly about China, and then turns around and implements essentially a Chinese Communist Party system of social crediting in his state, creating snitch lines where people inform on their neighbors during the pandemic, where he allowed his cities to burn, where there are all sorts of questions about how he could serve in the National Guard at the same time. Oh, and by the way, lie consistently about what he was doing in the National Guard and his rank there, but also do that while also traveling to China more than 24 times. Lots and lots of questions out there. And the reality is that there is this veneer that he is Midwestern dad when he is really Kamala Harris's attack dog. He is there because Kamala Harris cannot appear angry on the campaign stage. So he's out there being the attack dog on her behalf. So you can say he's being nice and he's bringing joy, but again, what is he doing? He is the man behind calling, he is the man behind calling Donald Trump and J.D. Vance weird. That was all Tim Walz. He admitted it. And so the reality is you're not this nice guy if you're demagoguing your opponent by calling them weird.
All right.
So it's a myth.
Oh God, get out of here.
I remember now what he just reminded me. So the JD Vance thing about being weird, I do actually think that it's weird that he thinks that I probably should have no opinion and maybe not even exist in America.
That's not what he said.
Politics, because I don't have a child.
That's not what he said.
That came out. Yeah, and I think it's really interesting. It's funny. Back. Yeah, I heard the way he tried to correct it, and then I listened to what he said, and that's exactly what he said. If I don't have children that I've actually birthed myself, and then I shouldn't have, you know, I should have no voice.
That's not what he said, but go ahead.
And these cat ladies, all these sorts of things where he's trying to ignore, and even. Make it this Handmaid's Tale, like that is weird and it's a bit scary.
Yeah, and I think it's scary. I think it's scary that they put tampons, okay, in boys' bathrooms in high schools, and I think it's a little weird, okay, that this party is completely incensed with sexuality. Okay, that his state has to be a sanctuary state for abortion. I think that's a little weird. Okay, I think it's weird that this guy was okay until 3 weeks ago. I think that's a little weird.
Jimmy, please. You're Jimmy bustering, okay? Hold on. Tonya, when Andrew was making his last address, you started to laugh. Why?
Because it's ludicrous. It's like it's gaslighting. Seriously, like calling the man weird. And by the way, they are weird. Calling them weird is some like across the line, like, you know, unthinkable insult. Donald Trump literally plays into the most base, vile, disgusting,
Tonya.
racist. Shut up, because I'm not interrupting you. Okay. We have both shown both of you the respect of letting you speak uninterrupted.
Actually, that's not true, Tonya.
Give
This
us
is the
the same
second show
courtesy.
you've done with
Give
me
us the
where you've
same
said that I have
courtesy.
interrupted
Because
you
what
and you
we're
haven't
not gonna
interrupted
do
me.
is
My
have two
very
different
first
sets of
statement, you
rules.
interrupted
We're
me.
not gonna have two
So
sets of
I'm not going to
rules.
have you gaslight me here on the call.
Okay, whatever. Weird. Weird is not worse than calling someone stupid, saying they're not intelligent, playing into racist tropes with respect to a woman who you can say whatever you want about her policies. She is not a dummy.
Okay, all evidence to the contrary, but let's go here, which is you cannot turn around and say You cannot turn around and say that he is bringing joy and he is bringing nice and all of these things when his role is as the campaign's attack dog. That's what he does. And he comes across as every angry lefty that I've ever dealt with on social media. Actually, on both sides. I will say this much, not every angry lefty. Every kind of political troll you deal with on social media who gets angrier and more irrational, that is Tim Walz's role in this campaign. That's what he does. And I'm sorry, but when your one job as vice president of the United States is to get to the root causes of immigration overseas, and first of all, you deny that the borders are, but your one job is to deal with it. And the one thing you do when you're down in Central America is you tell immigrants who you've told had these wonderful stories and you need to come to America. You've given very impassioned speech about that, and you warn them to not come to America under your watch. That's a failure. And then the other part of this is when your only real accomplishment is by getting businesses to spend money creating jobs that you should have gone to Americans, creating them in these other countries, that's also a failure. So no, I don't think Kamala Harris is very bright. I don't think she's very smart. And she has no policy accomplishments to her credit. And yet we are going to catapult her. And by the way, let me be really clear about this. This is Kamala Harris. Hold on. This is Kamala Harris's
we got to
race
interrupt
lose.
because like you just kind of go on and on and on. Where's
Well,
that,
okay.
Richard?
Stop filibustering. I'm going to have to ask you, Andrew, but you were not interrupted during your talk there. We just have a few minutes left in this segment. Closely watched race for retiring Maryland Senator Ben Cardin's seat in the U.S. Senate. PG County Executive Angela Also Brooks continues to lead former Republican Maryland Governor Larry Hogan, who made it clear that he wants to serve the people, never Donald Trump. How do you guys see this race? Ganesha.
Yeah, y'all should have just left Larry over there to be happily retired. He didn't even want to do this. I mean, folks had to come and beg him and say, please, we really don't have any other candidates that could even hold a fire to Angela. Please come try to save us. And his heart is not in it. He doesn't really want it. The general, kind of field that he had in Maryland is not translating. It's not going to translate. Her ground game has been impeccable. And so, she's going to win it, and she's going there for the right reasons. She's taking the people with her. And we'll have a great representative for Maryland.
Yeah, look, Hogan, I've been saying this for a year right now. The two liberals on the panel aren't going to support him, and the Republicans don't like him. The fact that he's only down by 8 points is somewhat amazing. His disrespect to the entire party, his selflessness, those chickens are coming home to roost. Larry Hogan has no chance at all. It was a disaster as governor. He could have cultivated the next generation to have somebody to step up to be governor. He obviously didn't do that. The guy's a failure, and he's not going to be a senator.
Tonya. Jimmy, good. Very good, Jimmy. Go ahead.
I don't really have strong negative views of Governor Hogan, former Governor Hogan, and I actually respect his willingness to deviate from the party line. Certainly I respect his ability to be successful in a blue state. I do think it's unfortunate that that kind of voice of moderation won't be put to use in some other office that could serve both parties and the country. But obviously he has no chance of winning.
All right. What we're going to do, take a break, come back. We want to talk about one more hot local topic. Here again is the voice of Square Off, ladies and gentlemen, Howard Malice.
Thank you, Richard. The way some people drive these days, auto accidents are on the rise. If your car has been in an accident, the insurance companies cannot tell you where to take your car. That's why more and more people are trusting their auto repairs and auto maintenance to leading edge auto body and mechanical repair. They work on all makes and models, and they offer free pickup and delivery anywhere in the Baltimore area. Give them a call at 410-433-6433 or visit them at 5807 Falls Road in the heart of Mount Washington. They make your car look and run like new again. And Baltimore is one of the best diner towns in the country, and the most popular of them all are the Double T diners. TT means totally terrific. For breakfast, lunch, or dinner, The Double T menu offers you so many choices you're going to want to order everything. And with locations on Route 40 West, Perry Hall, White Marsh, Annapolis, Pasadena, and the EC Diner in Ellicott City, plus Monday nights are lobster nights at By the Docks in Middle River, which is all part of the Double T family. Back to you, Richard.
I just want to say about Leading Edge, our good friend Henry Lewis took a bashed up Audi to Leading Edge. And when he got it out, he said the car looked better than it did the day he drove it off the lot. All right, so anyway, here's another story making news. It's a proposal to create a $1,000 bonus that parents would receive upon the birth or adoption of a child in Baltimore. A Baltimore City Circuit Court judge has ruled this proposal unconstitutional. But Andrew, what are your thoughts about handing out $1,000 for adopting or having a baby?
Well, listen, let me start here because I didn't answer the other question about Angela Alsobrooks and Larry Hogan, and finish my other thought here, which is I maintain, and I want to maintain this race, the presidential race, is Kamala Harris's to lose. She's in the catbird seat. She's got the media behind her. The same thing with Angela Alsobrooks. You know, this race is Angela Alsobrooks to lose, especially with the false reproductive rights amendment on the constitutional ballot, right? It drives a lot of folks out to the polls who, when Biden was running, were probably not going to come out to the polls. So here they are. But on this issue, listen, I'm never a fan of handing out free money. You know, for all sorts of reasons, it sort of devalues other things and causes the prices of other things to go up. We know that when we talk about universal basic income, that never works out. It never has the intended effects that folks think it is. I think it's a nice pie in the sky idea to reward folks for having kids, and it could certainly be helpful in the near term. But parents need access to jobs. They need access to incomes that are organically rising. This does not do any of that.
Yeah, just so I'm clear on this. So $1,000 to knock out a kid in Baltimore City is going to lead to economic prosperity. Sounds like a great idea. I can't see anything going bad on this one.
Ganesha, what do you think about this idea?
Yeah, I don't know who put it forward and what, you know, their motivations are. So I'm gonna
right.
That always worries me. But you know, my concern here really is that we have a system right now. We have, what was there, a story that just came out of you know, these emaciated kids that were like locked in a shed. You know, we have a system right now that is not actually tracking and helping the young people that are in it as it is. And so to try to incentivize somebody with $1,000 to come and foster a child, I'm a bit worried about that, and the people that it's going to incentivize to come in and get that money.
The Maryland Child Alliance, which is a volunteer organization composed mostly of teachers, they plan to appeal this decision to the Supreme Court of Maryland, hoping to get the measure on the November 5th ballot.
It's tied to a national organization. And honestly, the local media needs to do a deep dive on the motivation behind this. Okay. This has nothing to do with helping children. It definitely has nothing to do with bringing people out of poverty. If anything, it leads to more of it. There's a lot of tentacles that come out of this that nobody's talking about right now. And by the way, it got shot down in the courts. And the reason it got shot down in the courts is it's supposed to go to the voters, it's supposed to be on the ballot, which I'm pretty sure it would pass. And it's not even being tested. This is such a joke, okay? I mean, this is why everybody laughs, okay, at Baltimore City specifically. This is such a joke. This is supposed to go to the ballot box. And I'll tell you what, if it survives the judicial process, I guarantee you it will absolutely pass. So you get $1,000 for a kid, and then what? That's another kid on the welfare program, which, by the way, it can't afford, which then goes to Maryland taxpayers, which they can't afford, which then goes to the federal government.
All right. So I thought I was going to just let this go, like, but also like, this is why Baltimore is a joke. Like, this is the problem. Like, you want to paint Baltimore with this big broad brush. There is an issue because of disinvestment in Baltimore for a very long time. The forefathers of redlining. There's real issues in Baltimore. There have not been real solutions. And so if this is teachers, right? If this is teachers that are in classrooms, again, I'm not speaking, and I'm confused by your answer because your first answer was like, I support it completely. And then you started talking about the national tentacles and all that sort of stuff. But coming
I
from
said-
teachers who are in the classroom and they're
That was
seeing
my first
the,
answer.
the repercussions of not having enough parents with some of these young people. Like, there needs to be a solution, and maybe
Yeah.
this is the best thing that they've come up with. But to say that this is why Baltimore is a joke because folks are trying to figure out, you know, solutions to real problems, like, that's just a bridge too far.
No, it's not.
Hold it.
Democratic ideology. This is the whole problem. By the way, teachers, are you joking? K through 12 in Baltimore City is getting like $23,000 per pupil. Don't tell me this is a money issue. And yeah, Baltimore is a joke. I travel also. I was in New York a month ago. Okay, and people talk to me when I say I'm from Baltimore, like I'm coming from the Middle East. It is a joke. Okay, because the Democratic
It's not a joke.
across the country.
It's not a joke. It's actually very serious. It's actually very serious. If you don't like being from Baltimore, then move.
To where?
Well, I don't know, wherever you want to some Republican haven. Go out there where all the Trump signs are. There's somewhere for you to live, some barn or country play. I don't know, somewhere, but you don't have to be in Baltimore and talk shit. Oh, excuse me, crap about it.
That's all.
No crime in those places.
Tonya,
Then
Low
leave.
taxes.
Okay.
Then leave.
yeah, last word.
Yeah, I have to co-sign Ganesha, the sentiment that, you know, it gets tiresome. The Baltimore bashing, it's like either be part of the solution or be out because you're part of the problem. And Jimmy, I love you. I apologize for telling you to shut up earlier. Yeah, just, you know, there was too much talking over me and it makes me physically sick to not interrupt. So I apologize for that. But yeah, I love Baltimore and I think Baltimore has a bright future and we should be focusing on solutions, not bashing it.
30 seconds, Andrew, to wrap.
Well, listen, no, I mean, I already said my piece in all of this. The reality is that it's not just as simple as if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. We've had plenty of folks who've tried to offer up solutions over the last 3 decades in Baltimore, and they have all failed miserably. And it's not because of redlining, but it's because of the Democrat machine politics not holding people accountable.
I want to thank all of you. This is a good show. Jimmy, I'm ashamed of you for not speaking up today. Really. I'd like to hear from you. Tonya and Jimmy made up. I feel good about that. Please tell your friends to join all of you at squareoff.net. And we'll see you next week with another great panel. And once again, we square off. Thank you, Ganesha. Thank you, Tonya. Thank you, Silent Jimmy. And Andrew, we'll listen to you 9 to 11 on WCBM Radio.
Thank you.
See y'all later. Bye-bye.